Hello guys, welcome to Infinite Stories. Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Let's get into the story. Ijeoma was the most sought-after hairstylist in the state, with I.J Touch Salon being the destination for women from all over the world. Her hands were believed to work magic, transforming anyone's hair into something extraordinary. Clients would wait in long lines, knowing that once Ijeoma worked on their hair, it would never be the same again. But behind her success lay a dark secret. Every night, after the salon closed, Ijeoma would gather the hair left behind by her customers. To the untrained eye, it was trash, but to Ijeoma, it was a crucial part of her ritual. She boiled the hair, following the instructions of Baba Odi, a mysterious figure who had taught her that the ritual would ensure her continued success. It was a grotesque act, but it was the price she paid for the talent she possessed. Annabelle, a longtime client of Ijeoma, came to the salon with an urgent request. She had a wedding to attend the next day and needed her hair to be perfect. "You've never let me down," she told Ijeoma with a smile. "I know you'll make me look amazing." Ijeoma reassured her, "Don't worry, you'll outshine the bride tomorrow." As Ijeoma worked her magic, Annabelle marveled at the transformation. Her hair looked perfect, shiny, full, and glamorous. She couldn't stop admiring herself in the mirror, feeling more confident than ever. But when it was time to leave, Annabelle insisted on packing her hair remnants herself. This request left Ijeoma unsettled, but she tried to remain calm, not wanting to make a scene. Little did she know, this simple act would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. After Annabelle left, Ijeoma felt a growing sense of unease. She had never allowed a client to take their hair home before, and Baba Odi had warned her of the consequences. Panic set in as Ijeoma quickly called him, explaining what had happened. Baba Odi's voice was cold on the other end of the phone as he reminded her of his warning: no one is allowed to take their hair. Now you must face the consequences. Desperately, Ijeoma pleaded for a solution, but Baba Odi hung up, leaving her with nothing but fear. That night, Ijeoma couldn't shake the feeling that something was horribly wrong. She tried to sleep, but an ominous sense of dread lingered over her. The next morning, Ijeoma woke up to an unbearable sensation. Her hands were swollen, the fingers stiff and unrecognizable. She rushed to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't explain what was happening. Medically, she was fine, yet her hands continued to grow larger, and something worse was happening. Maggots began to crawl out from beneath her skin. In a panic, Ijeoma recalled Baba Odi's warning and realized that her actions had triggered the curse. With each passing hour, her hands became more grotesque, rendering her unable to touch anything, let alone style hair. Desperation set in as she realized that the life she had built was slipping through her fingers. Ijeoma locked herself in her house, trying everything to reverse the effects. She rubbed ointments on her swollen hands, but nothing worked. Her fingers were now almost unrecognizable, swollen and covered in sores. She couldn't even lift a comb without feeling immense pain. Each attempt to touch something left her with a deeper sense of helplessness. The reality of the curse sank in, and she knew there was no escape. Desperation led her back to Baba Odi, but when she tried calling, his number went straight to voicemail. Her once beautiful hands, her source of livelihood, had become a curse, and now Ijeoma was left with nothing but regret. Days passed, and Ijeoma's condition worsened. Her hands had swollen beyond recognition, and the maggots were consuming her flesh. The once immaculate salon was now abandoned, with dust collecting on the mirrors and chairs. Ijeoma's mind raced with regret as she thought of all the women whose lives she had touched, quite literally, in the worst way possible. As the days dragged on, she found herself unable to leave the house, her hands too deformed to perform even the simplest tasks. The salon that had once been the heart of her success now seemed like a distant memory, a reminder of how far she had fallen. The curse, it seemed, had come to claim its toll. Desperate and near the brink of insanity, Ijeoma finally managed to reach Baba Odi. Her voice was shaking with fear and hopelessness. "Please, Baba Odi," she begged, "is there anything I can do to undo the damage? I can't live like this." Baba Odi's response was chilling. "You knew the rules, Ijeoma. The price of your success was high. There's no way back from this now." He paused, as if savoring her torment. "The curse is irreversible. Your hands will rot, and you will never be able to work again." The finality in his words struck Ijeoma like a dagger. There would be no redemption, no second chance. She had made her choice, and now she had to face the consequences. Ijeoma's life had once been filled with joy and success, but now it was consumed by pain and sorrow. Her salon remained closed, her hands too grotesque to do the one thing she loved most. She could hardly bear to look at herself in the mirror. The transformation that had once been her pride now felt like a curse. As the days passed, the maggots continued to feast on her flesh, and her health deteriorated rapidly. The vibrant woman who had once been the center of admiration was now a shadow of her former self. With each passing day, Ijeoma knew the end was near, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. As her hands continued to worsen, Ijeoma felt the weight of her choices crushing her. She spent her final days in isolation, unable to bear the thought of facing anyone. The world she had once conquered seemed like a distant dream now, and all she had left were the remnants of a life built on lies and rituals. Her body grew weaker, and the pain in her hands intensified. In her final moments, Ijeoma wondered if it had all been worth it. Had the price of fame, success, and beauty been too high? As she lay there, waiting for the inevitable, she realized the true cost of her magic touch. Ijeoma's story came to a tragic end, and the once thriving I.J Touch Salon was left to decay. The building, once filled with the laughter and chatter of excited clients, now stood silent and forgotten. The women who had once sought out Ijeoma's magic no longer remembered her, and her legacy was reduced to whispers in the wind. No one knew the truth about what had happened to Ijeoma or the curse that had claimed her. The hair salon, a symbol of beauty and perfection, had become a place of darkness. The secrets of Ijeoma's rituals died with her, and her name was lost to time, leaving behind only the lessons of ambition, greed, and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond one's understanding. Months passed, and Ijeoma's salon remained locked and abandoned. The once bustling salon became a forgotten relic, with rumors swirling about the mysterious disappearance of its owner. The building was covered in dust, the mirrors cracked, and the chairs were empty. However, there was one person who couldn't let go of the story, Annabelle. She had noticed that Ijeoma's usual warmth was missing when she last visited, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something had gone wrong. Annabelle couldn't understand why Ijeoma hadn't reached out to her, and after a few weeks of silence, she decided to visit the salon once more, determined to uncover the truth behind Ijeoma's sudden absence. When Annabelle arrived at the salon, the door creaked open as if it hadn't been touched in years. The once pristine interior was now filthy, and the air was thick with dust. She explored the darkened halls and finally entered Ijeoma's private office. There, she found a collection of strange items, jars filled with remnants of hair, old books with cryptic writing, and an unlit candle that smelled of burnt incense. Annabelle felt a chill crawl up her spine. She could feel Ijeoma's presence in the room, as if she had been there recently. In that moment, Annabelle realized that the truth about Ijeoma's success, and her disappearance, was far darker than she had ever imagined. With questions running through her mind, Annabelle decided to track down Baba Odi. She had heard rumors about him being connected to Ijeoma's mysterious rise to fame, but she had never believed them. However, her curiosity now pushed her to find him. After days of searching, she located the old man living in a secluded part of town. Baba Odi was no longer the imposing figure he once was. His eyes were hollow, and he seemed frail, as if the weight of the dark magic he had practiced had drained his very soul. When Annabelle confronted him about Ijeoma, Baba Odi sighed deeply. "You don't understand the price she paid," he warned. "Her hands were the key, but the price for greatness is always steep." Baba Odi revealed the entire story to Annabelle, explaining how Ijeoma had made a pact with him years ago in exchange for her talent. The ritual with the hair was a powerful, but dangerous, act that allowed Ijeoma to maintain her beauty and success. However, the cost of using the ritual was far greater than Ijeoma had anticipated. Every time she used the hair for her cooking, it bound her closer to a curse that would eventually claim her life. She never should have let a client take their hair, Baba Odi said gravely. It was the final act that sealed her fate. Annabelle was horrified. She had no idea that Ijeoma's flawless touch had been the result of such darkness. Determined to understand more, Annabelle returned to the salon and combed through the mysterious books she had found in Ijeoma's office. As she read the pages, she discovered that there were more rituals hidden within them, rituals that could possibly undo the damage Ijeoma had caused. Annabelle was conflicted. Could she really perform such dangerous rituals? Could she, somehow, save Ijeoma from the curse? Annabelle thought of Ijeoma's kindness, the way she had always been generous with her time and talent. She couldn't let her fall victim to the curse without at least trying to help. Annabelle began preparing for the ritual. She knew it was risky, but the more she learned about the power of the hair rituals, the more convinced she became that it was the only way to reverse the curse. She gathered the materials from Ijeoma's office, hair remnants, herbs, candles, and the old cooking pot Ijeoma had used. Annabelle set up the ritual in a quiet room, her hands shaking as she carefully followed the instructions in the book. As she boiled the hair, a strange sensation filled the air, an energy that seemed to seep through the walls of the salon. Annabelle was both terrified and hopeful. Could this work? As Annabelle completed the ritual, something unexpected happened. Instead of reversing the curse, the energy of the ritual seemed to spiral out of control. The room filled with an unsettling darkness, and the air grew cold. Annabelle's hands burned as if something was trying to escape her. She stumbled back, feeling a wave of dizziness wash over her. The pot bubbled ominously, and for a brief moment, Annabelle saw a vision of Ijeoma's swollen hands, now decaying, reaching out from the mist. Annabelle realized that the ritual was far more dangerous than she had anticipated. In her attempt to help Ijeoma, she had unknowingly bound herself to the curse as well. Annabelle woke up the next morning, feeling strange. Her body felt heavier, and her hands seemed to ache as if they were swollen. She rushed to the mirror and gasped. Her fingers had started to deform, much like Ijeoma's had. Panic set in as she realized what had happened. She had taken on the curse by performing the ritual. Annabelle remembered Baba Odi's words, "The price for greatness is steep." Her heart sank as she realized that she had been just as careless as Ijeoma had been. In her desire to save her, she had unknowingly condemned herself. Desperate to undo what she had done, Annabelle sought out Baba Odi once again. But this time, she found him gone. His home was abandoned, and there were no signs of him anywhere. Annabelle felt a surge of frustration and fear. With no one left to guide her, she was left to fend for herself. The maggots in her hands began to spread, and soon she couldn't even bear to touch anything. Her life was slipping away, just as Ijeoma's had. She felt the curse closing in on her, and she knew there was no escaping the price she had paid. Annabelle's once beautiful hands were now unrecognizable, grotesque and bloated. She could hardly move them, let alone work. As the curse took its toll, she spent her final days in isolation, much like Ijeoma had. She realized too late the truth of what ambition and vanity had cost them both. The salon remained abandoned, a dark monument to their shared fate. No one would ever know the terrible price they had paid for beauty and success. Annabelle's final thought was of Ijeoma, and the two women, victims of the same dark power, were forever bound by the curse that had claimed them both. Months turned into years, and the story of Ijeoma and Annabelle faded into obscurity. The I.J Touch Salon, once a place of magic and allure, was left to decay. New businesses rose, but none could replicate the fame that Ijeoma had achieved. Some whispered about the strange happenings surrounding the salon, but few believed the old tales of the curse. The salon's legacy, once intertwined with success and beauty, became a cautionary tale for those who sought to achieve greatness at any cost. The building, still standing but forgotten, was a reminder of how ambition could lead to ruin. In the same state where Ijeoma's salon once thrived, a young woman named Tenny entered the beauty industry with dreams of building her own salon. Unlike Ijeoma, Tenny was determined to succeed through hard work, not shortcuts. She had heard of the legend of Ijeoma and her magical touch but was skeptical of the rumors. Tenny's salon quickly gained popularity, and her talent began to shine. Yet, despite her success, she felt a strange pull to the abandoned I.J Touch Salon, as if it was calling her. There was something about the place that intrigued her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Tenny decided to visit the old salon one evening, her curiosity getting the better of her. As she walked through the dilapidated building, she felt a strange sense of déjà vu. The air seemed heavy with the presence, and she couldn't help but feel like she was being watched. She explored the rooms, finally coming across the old office where Ijeoma had once worked. There, she found the books and items that Annabelle and Ijeoma had left behind, untouched. Something about the remnants of the past called to her, but Tenny quickly dismissed the thought, deciding to leave before she became too immersed in the dark history of the place. As Tenny walked out of the salon, she felt a strange sensation in her hands. She couldn't explain it, but they felt warmer, more alive. Over the next few days, she noticed a shift in her work. Her skills improved dramatically, her touch became more precise, and her clients noticed the change. They praised her for her newfound ability, but Tenny couldn't help but wonder if something was behind the sudden transformation. She had unknowingly crossed a line, visiting the old salon, and now it seemed as if the curse had found a new vessel to claim. Tenny felt uneasy, but she couldn't shake the thrill of her newfound talent. One night, as Tenny worked late, she received a mysterious message from an unknown number. The message read, "Leave the salon, or face the same fate as Ijeoma and Annabelle. The curse has already begun." Panic surged through Tenny as she read the words. She felt a chill run down her spine, and the warmth in her hands intensified. She had heard the stories of the curse, but she had never believed them. Now, it seemed as though the curse had found her too. Terrified, Tenny called her best friend, who urged her to leave the salon and never return. But Tenny was torn. She was now at the height of her success, and the thought of giving it all up was unbearable. Tenny couldn't ignore the message, and soon, she found herself back at I.J Touch Salon, searching for answers. She went through the old books once more, finding the ritual that had once been used by Ijeoma and Annabelle. As she read, she realized that she had unknowingly performed part of the ritual through her touch, just as Ijeoma had. The strange warmth in her hands, the sudden increase in skill, these were signs of the curse taking hold. The realization terrified her, and she understood now that she was playing with forces beyond her control. The curse had begun to weave its way into her life, and there was no turning back. Tenny was now faced with a difficult decision. She could continue with the salon, embracing her newfound power, but knowing that the curse would slowly consume her as it had with Ijeoma and Annabelle. Or, she could abandon it all, leaving the salon and her career behind to escape the inevitable. Torn between ambition and survival, Tenny felt trapped. Her hands were now swollen, just like Ijeoma's, and maggots had begun to appear on her skin. The curse had already started its work, and there was no easy way out. She called one last time to her best friend, begging for guidance, but deep down, she knew that the choice had always been hers. Tenny chose to leave the salon, closing its doors for good. She knew that continuing would mean certain destruction. The curse had claimed her, just as it had claimed Ijeoma and Annabelle. Her hands continued to swell, and the maggots feasted on her flesh, but she refused to return to the salon, choosing to walk away from her success in order to save her life. She could no longer ignore the warnings of those who had come before her. Tenny knew that the power and beauty she had gained came at too great a cost. As she left the building, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders, but the consequences would haunt her for the rest of her days. Years later, the story of Ijeoma, Annabelle, and Tenny became a warning passed down in whispers. The I.J Touch Salon remained closed, its doors locked and its windows boarded up. New businesses had risen in the area, but none had dared to approach the cursed building. The legacy of the magical touch, the hair rituals, and the price of ambition had become a cautionary tale. No one spoke of the women who had once walked the path of beauty and success, for their story was one of tragedy and loss. The lessons they had learned too late were now forgotten, as the curse continued to loom over the town. The once vibrant town had long moved on from the dark history of the I.J Touch Salon. But as the years passed, the building itself seemed to decay, a physical manifestation of the curse that had claimed Ijeoma, Annabelle, and Tenny. A new generation of hopeful stylists came and went, unaware of the dark legacy they were stepping into. The story of Ijeoma and her magic touch remained just that, a story. But the curse lived on, an eternal reminder that some forces were too powerful to control. The cycle would continue, and no one would ever truly escape the consequences of tampering with the unknown. That's the end of the story. What did you learn about the story? Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.